You have experienced this moment many times, though you may not have noticed it clearly. You are speaking with someone, or working on something important, or standing at the edge of a decision that will shape the direction of your life. Your body is present in that moment, yet your mind has already left it. It has traveled into tomorrow, measuring consequences, imagining outcomes, constructing futures that do not yet exist. The present moment remains in front of you, but it receives only a fragment of your attention, as though the most important part of your mind has gone somewhere else. In ancient Japan, the samurai understood that this simple habit of the mind could become fatal. A warrior who stands in the present moment with a divided mind is already weakened before the battle begins. Not because his sword is dull or his training insufficient, but because his attention is scattered between the moment that exists and the ones that do not. The samurai trained to eliminate that division. They cultivated a state of mind that they called aima, a word that simply means now. Yet within the warrior tradition, it carried a deeper meaning. It described the discipline of allowing the mind to exist fully within the present moment, without drifting into the past or projecting itself into the future. This principle appears repeatedly in the writings of Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary swordsman who spent his life studying the psychology of combat and the nature of awareness. Musashi believed that clarity in the present moment was the foundation of all mastery. A warrior whose mind wanders even slightly away from the moment of action cannot respond with precision. In his view, victory begins not with movement, but with attention. To understand this principle more clearly, consider the story of a young samurai named Daichi. Chapter 1. The Night of Restless Thoughts. The evening before a battle carries a silence that feels heavier than ordinary silence. Thousands of soldiers occupy the same camp, yet the air is thick with thoughts that remain unspoken. Armor rests beside sleeping mats, swords lie within reach, and small fires flicker across the dark field. Though the men share the same space, each of them is alone inside his own mind. Daichi sat outside his tent, staring into the darkness beyond the camp. He was 20 years old and had trained since childhood to serve his lord. His movements with the sword were precise, his discipline unquestioned, yet none of that training protected him from the thoughts that now filled his mind. The coming battle replayed itself endlessly in his imagination, each version slightly different from the last. In one version, he moved too slowly and lost his footing. In another, he hesitated when the enemy advanced. In yet another, he survived the battle but failed to protect the men fighting beside him. These imagined futures unfolded one after another until the battle that had not yet begun felt more real than the ground beneath his feet. An older samurai approached and quietly sat beside him. The man's name was Takeda, a veteran who had survived many campaigns. His face carried the calm expression of someone who had seen chaos often enough that it no longer disturbed his breathing. For a moment, Takeda said nothing. Then he asked a simple question. "Where is your mind right now?" Daichi answered without thinking. "Here." Takeda shook his head slowly. His voice remained calm, almost gentle. "No, your body is here. Your mind is already fighting tomorrow's battle." Daichi lowered his eyes, realizing the truth of the statement. The older warrior gestured toward the valley hidden in darkness beyond the camp. "That battle does not yet exist," Takeda said. "When it arrives, it will arrive as this moment, and if your mind is not here when it comes, you will meet it with only half of yourself." He stood and returned to his tent, leaving Daichi alone with the quiet weight of those words. Chapter 2. The Discipline of Ima. The next morning, the mist over the valley began to lift slowly as the armies prepared to engage. The field would soon become another chapter in the long history of conflict that shaped feudal Japan. The decisive struggle at the Battle of Sekigahara had already shown how fragile the balance of power could be when thousands of warriors converged in a single place. As Daiichi stood in formation, he remembered Takeda's words from the night before. His mind attempted once again to move into the future, imagining the clash of weapons and the chaos of the battlefield. But this time he recognized the movement of his thoughts before they carried him away. He returned his attention to the present moment, the weight of the sword in his hand, the sound of armor shifting beside him, the cool air entering his lungs. These details grounded him in the only place where action could truly occur. This practice was the essence of Ima. It was not a mystical state or a moment of peaceful meditation. For the samurai, it was a practical discipline, sharpened through training just as carefully as swordsmanship. The warrior learned to notice when the mind drifted into imagined futures or lingering memories, and to bring it back to the present moment without hesitation. Zen teachings, which deeply influenced samurai culture, reinforced this idea. Within Zen Buddhism, awareness of the present moment was considered the doorway to clarity. When the mind remains anchored in the present, perception becomes sharp and responsive. When it wanders, confusion begins. Chapter 3. The Moment of Engagement. As the battle began, Daiichi noticed a subtle difference among the men around him. Some soldiers moved with steady attention, their eyes focused only on what unfolded directly before them. Others appeared restless, their movements tight with tension as though they were already reacting to dangers that had not yet arrived. The difference was not physical strength or skill, it was the location of their attention. Those who remained present reacted quickly and naturally to each change in the battle. Their bodies moved before hesitation could slow them. Those whose minds had drifted into imagined outcomes moved less smoothly, their reactions delayed by the extra burden of thought. In that moment, Daiichi understood what Takeda had tried to teach him. The battle did not require him to solve the future. It required him to respond to the moment that existed now. Chapter 4. The Three Forces That Steal the Present. The samurai observed that the mind rarely remains still within the present moment. Instead, it is pulled away by three powerful tendencies that exist within every human being. The first force is the illusion of the future. The mind convinces itself that constant anticipation will create control over events that have not yet occurred. Yet most of what we call preparation is simply imagination. True preparation takes place through action in the present, through disciplined training and clear observation. The second force is the weight of the past. Memories can serve as valuable teachers, but once the lesson has been learned, carrying the emotional weight of those memories only divides attention. A warrior who steps into the present while still reliving yesterday's mistakes fights two battles at once, and the one inside his mind drains the strength needed for the real one. The third force is the observing mind. During moments of action, a voice appears that begins evaluating performance while it is still unfolding. The moment the mind splits into the one who acts and the one who judges, hesitation begins. Musashi warned about this in his teachings, emphasizing that a warrior must act without the interference of self-conscious thought during the moment of engagement. Chapter 5. The Quiet Practice of Return. The discipline of presence does not require a perfectly silent mind. Even the most experienced warrior cannot prevent thoughts from appearing. The true practice lies in noticing when attention has wandered and returning it gently to the present. This act of returning may happen dozens of times in a single hour. Yet, with repetition, it becomes easier, and the periods of true presence gradually lengthen. What begins as effort slowly becomes habit, until the mind naturally settles into the moment without resistance. Over time, this simple discipline changes the quality of a person's life. Conversations become deeper because attention is no longer divided. Work becomes more precise because the mind is not distracted by imagined outcomes. Even ordinary moments acquire a quiet intensity when experienced fully. Conclusion: the samurai were not searching for constant calm or perfect peace. Their lives rarely allowed such luxuries. Instead, they pursued clarity, the ability to stand in the present moment without being pulled apart by memories or predictions. The teachings of warriors like Miyamoto Musashi remind us that mastery begins with attention. Every action, every decision, and every meaningful experience occurs in the same place. Not in the future we imagine, not in the past we replay, only in the present moment. And the question the samurai quietly ask themselves before battle remains just as relevant today. Where is your mind right now? Because wherever it is, that is where your life is unfolding. And the moment you notice it drifting away, you always have the power to return it to the place where everything truly happens. Here, now.